What happens when you take 3 beautiful women, an unpopular comic book character, an out-of-touch studio,
The superhero world from a female perspective.
and an audience who's fed up with Hollywood crapping on their nostalgia?
I'll tell you what you get. Call the police. Get what you deserve.
No, Joker, calm down. You get Madam Web. God damn, that's dark. I forgot how dark that movie was. Nobody's dying, all right, Joker? Nobody's dying over Madam Web. At least I hope not, anyway. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is another day, another flop for a female-led superhero movie, just telling us so much how Hollywood has lost complete touch with the audience they are trying to make money from. And you know what's really bad? When Sydney Sweeney's assets can't even get guys out to the theater. Get your minds out of the gutter, you heathens. You should be ashamed of yourself. But Sydney Sweeney, seriously. Get yourself back on track, EG, alright? Sydney Sweeney's never gonna call you. You're dumb, you're so stupid. Unless you see the Sydney Sweeney, then you should totally call me. Then again, you take one of the most attractive women in Hollywood with Sydney Sweeney, and you make her dress like this. Alright, enough simping for Sydney Sweeney.
Take this seriously.
Even she couldn't save this movie, which should tell you just how bad this train wreck actually is. Enough goofing around. Let's talk about what made this movie such a bad idea to make and why Sony is incredibly out of touch with the audience that they once knew pretty well back in the Spider-Man 2 days. Damn, I forgot how cool that movie was. Like most things, Sony started with an idea to create a universe using only Spider-Man characters, because, let's be honest, those are the only things that Sony owns, and they are gripping it with the jaws of life, trying not to lose the rights to the characters. So if you're sitting there wondering to yourself, how does a movie like this get greenlit? Well, it's pretty simple. It goes back to a copyright agreement between Marvel and Sony, and that copyright agreement is as follows. Sony's agreement with Marvel included a condition requiring the studio to commence production on a dedicated Spider-Man movie within a stipulated time frame that works out to once every 5 years and 9 months. If Sony were to miss that target, the studio could lose a major piece of its IP portfolio. So basically, if Sony doesn't make trash like this, they will lose it altogether. And we know that Spider-Man movies do well, whether that is Spider-Man in the Multiverse with Miles Morales or Venom. Or Madam Web. Even Morbius. Alright, maybe not all Spider-Man movies do well, but you get what I'm saying. Essentially, these movies need to be made for Sony to be able to stop these rights from reverting back to Marvel. Because let's be honest, once Disney gets their hands back on these IPs, they are not giving them up, because they always find a way to incorporate these characters in their movies some way or another. And Sony knows that, so they are not trying to lose their piece of the pie when it comes to these superhero franchises. But according to the star, Dakota Johnson, this movie absolutely has nothing to do with Spider-Man.
Madam Web is a standalone universe.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Wrong movie.
Gotta be something about, You heard it here first.
What better way to promote your movie than to make sure everybody knows it has nothing to do with the characters that everybody would come and see your movie for? So then why Madam Web of all characters? It's pretty simple. It's woke Hollywood. It's essentially what I'm getting at. It's woke Hollywood. And before the Marvels flopped, the idea of female-led superhero movies was appealing to woke Hollywood. Let's go, girl power. But unfortunately, if there's one thing we know about comic book fans, the majority of them are made up of males, young males, who identify with these characters because as a kid, it was always fun pretending that you were Captain America taking on the Nazis, or Spider-Man, and you were going to war with Rhino or Venom. And this is what made these characters attractive to young boys. So when you take that part out of it, then it is pretty hard for most comic book fans, who the majority are men, believe it or not. Obviously, there's women fans too. I'm not going to act like there isn't, but if we were to look at the ratio, I'm far more willing to admit that the majority of fans are made up of boys than it is made up of girls. Now, this doesn't mean that female-led movies are guaranteed to flop. Take Ripley from Aliens. I know everybody uses her as the gold standard, and that's for a reason, because Aliens was badass, and it was badass because Ripley was badass. She didn't care that she was a girl. She was this woman who was totally within her femininity, enjoying life. They got thrusted into a situation and rose to the occasion. That's why people like Ripley. It's not because she's like Yas Queen. It's because she's an ordinary woman who rose to an occasion when the situation called for it. Fast forward to 2024, female-led action movies are nothing like they were back in the 80s, all right? These women are against the patriarchy. It's the man that are holding them down, and that's who their battle is with. They go to war with all men of all shapes and sizes. You can almost guarantee if there's a female-led action movie, the bad guy is going to be a man. It's not just the fact that the leads of these movies are female. A lot of it also has to do with the press tour that has been accompanying Madam Web, where the lead star, Dakota Johnson, Madam Web, is literally comic book deaf. She has no idea what comics are. She said she's seen 4% of comic book movies in general, so she's never read comics. She has no idea. And when you're trying to play a character who is from the comics, you know, it would make sense to normal people to do some research and understand where the character comes from. But no, not Dakota Johnson. She's just excited to play a role.
So going into this, I mean, what % of Marvel movies have you seen? Let's be real. And this isn't meant as a negative. Like, again, just...
4%.
4%.
Which is like 15 minutes of one.
Can you name the 3 Spider-Man Tom Holland movies?
Yeah.
Should I just go on faith?
Yeah.
Oh.
Spider-Man, here he comes.
Here he comes,
That's number 1.
Yep.
Spider-Man, and he's back. And the other one, the last one is the Goblet of Spider-Man.
So let's just recap real quick what she just stated in that interview. She's trying to convince people to come and see her movie, which would equal a payday for her. Comic book fans, nonetheless. Yet she's only seen 4% of all comic book movies. No, that actually checks out. That's pretty much Hollywood for you right now. No clue what the hell they're doing. Not only that, but she has no idea that she's actually working for Sony and not for Marvel.
So you're a part of the Marvel universe.
I know.
They got you. They got now you know what that means.
What does it mean?
You're going to be doing like 35 films. You have career employment for the rest of your life.
I wouldn't be so sure there, Kelly Ripa. I mean, I don't think that Sony Studios is chomping at the bit to get out Madam Web 2 after the performance of this one here. Then again, it's Hollywood, so I don't know what the hell they're going to do. They might make a Madam Web 2. I mean, it seems like they do not care about losing money. Another thing people are pointing out with this movie that really makes them upset, in the trailer, they portray these girls like they're going to be in costume. It's going to be costumed heroes versus a costume villain. When in reality, the only time you see these girls in any kind of outfit that would resemble anything of a comic book character is in a premonition that she has, which lasts for probably 2 seconds in the whole freaking movie. Talk about false advertising. Please tell me how you consider this a superhero movie without any freaking superheroes. Shit, looking at Sydney Sweeney in a leather tight outfit would be enough for me to go buy a ticket. But no, I can't have that, cause girl power. The closest reference you get to Spider-Man in this whole entire movie, which would be the major selling point for a Madam Web movie, is an Uncle Ben-like character and an Aunt May-like character who are hinted at giving birth to a Peter Parker type character, but when asked, Uncle Ben magically can't think of it. Why? Because copyrights.
Also features Mary Parker, who's pregnant with Peter Parker, but no sign of Richard, and Uncle Ben, but no Aunt May. Now, they almost mention her, but don't, and it's really weird. It's almost like they don't have the rights.
So I kind of met someone.
Again?
Yeah.
What's this one saying? Oh, serious.
Yes, serious. Seriously bad if we say May. We'll get our asses sued. Now, we could sit here all day and debate the ethics behind whether or not this movie should have been made, but it really comes down to the studios. These studios need to start realizing that the days of just putting out any kind of comic slop and not equal profit are over. As a huge comic book fan, it breaks my heart to see what these movies have become. A call to action for SJWs. Girls are strong. Girls are like totally strong too. Not to mention that most of the producers on the movie have no clue about the character herself.
Madam Web has no backstory. And so that really gave us a lot of freedom.
Really? You're going to sit here and convince me that Madam Web has no backstory? She 110% does have a backstory, okay? She's an elderly woman who was put on life support by her husband and was given clairvoyant powers. That itself seems like a much more compelling story than whatever this slop is. But hey, at least it's set in 2003 so that you could have the song Toxic play. I kid you not, that was actual quote by one of the producers on this film.
Why in the hell is it taking place in 2003? Oh, we have an answer to that.
Set in 2003 so that you could have the song Toxic.
You literally set your whole movie around a year just so you could have one song in it. Are you kidding me? Damn it, what are these people doing? How are they keep getting jobs in Hollywood? You know what? If a quarterback kept throwing interception after interception, he would get benched. Why aren't these people in the film industry getting benched for poor performance? I don't understand. Also, by the way, I really love Nerdrotic. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. I'm going to leave the link to the description of his review in this movie. You got to go check it out because he breaks down the whole plot and everything like that, which I'm not doing in this video because, frankly, I don't want to waste your time. I just wanted to give my perspective of the reasons why I think this movie just failed in general. But there's so much more depth to how the movie failed itself with the plot. I really love that these movies are flopping now. Maybe these big studios will finally wake up and see that as fans, we expect you to take care of things that we cared about growing up, like comic books. The reason that anime has skyrocketed lately is because it is compelling storytelling. It's not just because it's cartoon and it's fun and it's fantasy. It's because the storytelling behind the animes are really, really compelling things. Stories of growth and overcoming odds. We don't get that anymore in movies. We get a bunch of political messages jammed down our throats, like any woman can take on a man and overcome him. Yay, congratulations. For me, the best part of this movie is Sydney Sweeney, and you ruined her! Somehow you made Sydney Sweeney not hot, and that is really, really hard to do. Sorry, I don't mean to keep going back to Sydney Sweeney, but damn it, I would have loved to have seen her in some slick, tight leather. The studio missed a huge opportunity there. Just saying.
Why would you try and fail to make Sydney Sweeney ugly? And a bonus question, why in the hell couldn't the women look like this in the film?
Another thing these actors need to understand is know what studio you're working for. You can't go around tagging Marvel when in reality you're not even working for frickin' Marvel, dude. Probably why Dakota Johnson fired her agent after this.
Safe for the corporate shill critics to crap on Madam Web because it isn't Disney. Unfortunately, the movie's star, Dakota Johnson, wasn't aware of this. As my good friend and internet sleuth Ryan Kinnell pointed out, both Sydney Sweeney and Dakota Johnson tagged Marvel Studios with their Instagram posts. And I agree with Ryan's speculation, both actresses probably thought this was a Marvel Studios film. And maybe that had something to do with Dakota Johnson firing her agent just days after the trailer dropped.
Right now, Madam Web is the laughing stock of the internet, and it deserves every bit of the criticism it's getting. It is time for Hollywood to wake up and realize that the fans are not stupid. Your audience knows what they want to see, and they're not just going to go digest whatever slop you put out. This movie had a 6-day opening weekend. 6 days! That's a whole week! That's not an opening weekend, that's an opening week. The film starring Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, and Adam Scott, all pretty good actors, earned just $17.6 million over the President's Day weekend holiday. According to the data from Box Office Mojo, since the Valentine's Day debut, it has earned $25.8 million domestically. This puts the film's opening weekend well below that of Sony's Morbius. It's Morbin time! Sorry, I couldn't help myself. A heavily lambasted superhero film that earned $39 million in its opening weekend. Hell hath no fury like an angry nerd. If you like this video and you want to see me trash the Marvels and see why I think that movie failed, click here.